What's up, guys? So, I was watching YouTube the other day, and after about 20 minutes, I realized something. I hadn't actually watched a single video, all right? Not one. What I watched was 6 modern day infomercials pretending to be YouTube videos. Now, before anybody gets all up in their feelings, I'm not talking about the sponsor spots. Everybody's got to make a living, all right? I got no problem with somebody taking a sponsorship. What I'm talking about is something way different. Now, I know that I'm dating myself here a little bit, but do you guys remember those old ShamWow commercials from the 90s? That guy would come flying onto your television looking like he just snorted a rail of cocaine and just start screaming about a towel. And not just any towel, it was the greatest towel that ever existed. I mean, look, this towel cleaned your kitchen and washed your car, okay? This towel lowered your A1C and cleaned your bathroom tile. But at least you knew the ShamWow guy was selling you something. Then I realized something. We've been watching the exact same commercial on YouTube for the last 10 years. The only difference now is it's cameras and not towels. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately because, listen, I almost fell for it again. And before anybody starts losing their shit, this isn't a video about any specific camera. It's not about DJI. It's not about Insta360. It's not about Sony. It's about us. Because if you're anything like me, you probably convinced yourself at least once that buying a thing was somehow gonna change your life. I should have learned this lesson about 8 years ago. But because I'm an idiot, I didn't. I remember seeing commercials for one of the early GoPros, all right? Hero 3, Hero 4, whatever it was. And I became absolutely convinced that this camera was going to transform me into a completely different human. I wasn't buying a camera. I was buying a dream. In my head, as soon as I saw that GoPro commercial, I remember it so vividly. I was going camping every weekend, looking for Bigfoot. I'd be hiking mountains on Tuesdays and Thursdays, looking for Bigfoot. I'd be diving in Loch Ness, looking for Oh, yeah, that's not right. In my head, I was living this incredible life and capturing it all in high def. Listen, that's the best we had back then. So I bought the camera, and you know what happened? The exact same thing that would have happened if I filmed with a 10-year-old Cybershot. Nothing. Because the view of a half-eaten Dorito bag sitting on your coffee table doesn't magically become interesting because you filmed it with a GoPro. What I'm trying to say is the camera wasn't the problem. The guy holding it was. And that was a tough realization because what I actually bought wasn't a camera. I bought a dream. And that's when I realized something. The product isn't the camera. The product is hope. That's what every camera company on the planet are really selling to us. Hope, all right? Hope that our videos will be better. Hope that we'll be more creative. Hope that we'll finally start that YouTube channel. And the funny thing is, we all know this, all right? That's the part that cracks me up, man. Nobody watching this video is stupid. If I walked into your house and told you that buying a new frying pan was gonna turn you into Gordon Ramsay, you'd think I was out of my mind, all right? If I told you buying a guitar was gonna turn you into Eddie Van Halen, you would laugh and throw me out of the house. But somehow, when it's a camera, or a microphone, or a computer, our brains suddenly stop working, right? And I think I know why. Okay? Because most of us aren't actually buying the thing. We're buying who we think we're gonna be after we buy the thing. That's how big camera gets us, all right? Like the guy buying fishing gear isn't buying fishing gear. He's buying the Instagram post of himself standing in front of a boat with jaws hanging behind him. And the guy buying a camera isn't buying a camera. He's buying the version of himself that's finally going to start creating something, okay? The problem is that that guy doesn't come in the box, okay? You still got to bust your ass to become that guy. The camera just shows up. And I've fallen for this more times than I care to admit, man. All right, I've bought gear that I was absolutely convinced was going to change everything, like they say in the thumbnails. You know what usually happened? Yeah, for about 3 days, I felt like a genius, okay? I watched setup videos, I watched tutorials, comparison videos to make sure that I bought the right thing. Then about a week later, it just became another object sitting on the office shelf gathering dust. And not because the gear was bad, but because I was expecting the gear to do my job for me. And that's where this whole thing gets dangerous and expensive. Because buying something gives you a little bit of excitement, okay? It feels like momentum. It feels like you're moving forward. Meanwhile, the hard stuff is still sitting there waiting for you. The script still needs to be written. The camera still needs to be turned on. The video still needs to be edited. All right? The work doesn't care what camera you bought. The work is still the work. And here's the problem, right? Hope feels a lot like progress. Buying something new feels, I don't know, productive, okay? You start researching, watching reviews, comparing specs. You start watching those top 10 reasons to buy everything, okay? But before you know it, you spent 15 hours preparing to buy something and 0 hours actually making anything. And let's be honest, YouTube doesn't exactly help, okay? Every time you open the app, somebody's telling you that this is the camera, this is the microphone, this is the secret. This changes everything. Ugh, I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Everything is revolutionary now. Everything is a game changer. Everything's the future. Until next month. Then another box shows up. And suddenly the thing that was changing everything 30 days ago isn't even in the thumbnail anymore. Everything is the best camera until the next camera comes out. And look, I get it, all right? That's the business, all right? People like gear. I like gear. Hell, half the reason I'm making this video is because I like gear. But at some point, you've got to ask yourself a question. When was the last time a piece of gear actually changed our lives? Because if we're being honest, most of the biggest changes in our lives didn't come from something that we bought. They came from something that we did. The older I get, the more I realize that most of the things that I've created that I'm proud of had absolutely nothing to do with what camera I used. Nobody remembers what camera shot the video. Nobody remembers what microphone recorded the audio. They remember the story. They remember how you made them feel. And that's bad news for people trying to sell us magic boxes that record moving pictures. Because eventually you realize that there isn't a camera on the planet that can make you interesting. There isn't a microphone on the planet that can make you funny. There isn't a drone on the planet that can make you creative. Those things were always your job to figure out. And those things take work. Remember, if everyone is special, then no one is special. The gear ain't gonna make you special. That's your gig to figure out. The gear is just along for the ride. And that's a lesson it only took me about 8 years and about 25 grand to figure out, okay? Turns out the camera was never gonna take me camping, all right? The camera was never gonna take me hiking. The camera was never gonna help me find Bigfoot. That part right there was always my job. The camera was just supposed to come with me. And listen, all right? Before anybody thinks that I've learned my lesson, I literally almost bought something stupid last night. I hope that this video helped out somebody out there. And till next time, my friends, stay loud, stay a little bit reckless, and go out and make something. Take it easy.